Vishnu?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Right.
So I think 4 people are there, the attendees.
Okay.
Yeah. And it is currently live streamed on YouTube.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fine. This is good. I think we can, until the others join, can just read all this.
Sure.
Hello, Dr. Arun.
Good evening, good morning, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining.
Yes, it's about 5:45 here.
Thank you so much for joining, ma'am. It's a pleasure having you with us. We're just waiting for the other
I was just checking the connection, so I'll be back in about 5 minutes.
Absolutely, ma'am. No problems at all.
Thank you.
Shall we start?
Good morning, Dr. Prabhakar.
So you're on mute. So you're on mute, sir.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Good, thank you.
So should we give it a minute or two, Arun?
Sure.
Awesome.
Okay, I think Arun, let's start.
Awesome. Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Arun Jose from the Public Health Foundation of India, and I have the pleasure of welcoming you all to the first edition of the Take Charge of Your Health webinar series. We are here today to talk about the importance of adolescent health and how you can take charge of your own health. This webinar is being conducted as a part of the Public Health Foundation of India's Star Arogya Digiseva telemedicine program, which is a CSR initiative of Star Health Insurance. We consider this a small step towards developing healthy living patterns and preventing the risk of diseases among school-going children. We believe that by increasing your access to health information and empowering you to take charge of your physical, mental, emotional, and social health, we will be able to develop healthy patterns that can protect you as well as others around you. At this point, I have the pleasure of introducing the chair of today's session, Professor Doreraj Prabhakaran. Professor Prabhakaran is an internationally renowned researcher and the present Vice President of Research and Policy at the Public Health Foundation of India. He is the Executive Director of the Center for Chronic Disease Control at New Delhi. And he is also a Professor of Epidemiology at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine in UK. Professor Prabhakaran is a cardiologist that trained, he did his MD and his DM from the All India Institute of Medical Sciences in New Delhi. And his work spans from advanced research in the prevention of heart disease and diabetes to developing solutions to these heart diseases so that his work could benefit millions of people in India. With this, I will hand over the session proceedings to Professor Prabhakaran and request him to welcome the gathering and also introduce our guest speaker, Dr. Usha Sriram. Thank you.
Thank you, Arun, for that very kind introduction. A warm welcome to all my young friends. And to introduce our esteemed guest speaker today, Dr. Usha Sriram is a physician, endocrinologist, diabetes specialist, and a medical ethics expert. She's a graduate of Madras Medical College, and she trained in internal medicine and endocrinology in the United States. She is currently head Department of Endocrinology, Diabetes and Metabolism at the Voluntary Health Services, Chennai, and president of the Indian Society for Bone and Mineral Research. She has special interests in gestational diabetes, women's health, osteoporosis, preconception care, and medical ethics. She's a great communicator and women's health promoter and a rights activist, and she's the founder of Divas and director of Acer Health. In 2011, she began her work towards prevention and care of diabetes in women and girl children. The problem of diabetes and other non-communicable diseases are rising fast among girls and women, often compromising their lives, livelihood, quality of life, and many other aspects of their life. As a result, Divas was launched on September 14, 2013, attended by hundreds of women. It marked the beginning of a large nationwide movement to build an understanding on the scope of the problem of diabetes and its impact on women, to raise awareness amongst girls and women about diabetes and provide helpful tips on its prevention and management. She has been an invited speaker in hundreds of conferences and has been active in community educational programs. We are very honored to have you, Dr. Sriram, in this webinar today. I think it will be a feast for our young friends to listen to.
Thank you so much, Professor Prabhakaran, and thank you for this very, very kind invitation. And I want to welcome all the young people in the audience. And first, I'll start with sharing my screen. And it says I cannot. Okay, I think somebody has to stop sharing, and then I can.
Arun, maybe you have to permit her.
Yeah, I got it now.
Yeah.
Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Okay. So to the people in the audience, I will speak in English and also அப்பப்ப தமிழ்லயும் பேசுறேன். ஏன்னா I think சில பேர்லாம் தமிழ் பேசினா இன்னும் கொஞ்சம் பெட்டரா புரியும்னு நினைக்கிறேன். I chose this picture as my lead slide just to say this reminds me most about adolescence, blooming, beautiful, good health. So typically, when we are saying adolescents, we are talking about supposed to be young, healthy people who are going from being children and now they are going to become adults. So this is how your health should be. இப்படிதான் இருக்கணும். And why I immediately, as soon as Dr. Prabhakaran called me and said in this program நடக்க போகுது, can you take part in it? I immediately jumped and said yes, because எல்லாருக்கும் தெரியும் இப்போ COVID-19 2019 Decemberலேருந்து till now the whole world is impacted by COVID-19. But COVID-19 infection or pakam, but what it is doing to other health things in the world is really something that we should all think about very, very carefully, especially nanga in the medical profession, people like Dr. Prabhakaran, who is in the global health and public health space. Very important time, but also as children and as school authorities, we and parents, they have to look at this slide, and நீங்க இதுல பார்த்தாக்க you will see child health is also affected, routine vaccination is affected, what we call non-communicable disease, அதாவது diabetes, cancer, heart problem, lung problem, all these problems, all the services during this COVID-19 disrupt ஆயிடுச்சு, stop ஆயிடுது. Only COVID, all hospitals, doctors, families, they are focusing on COVID. Because of that, lot of the routine health things are not being attended to. So, as in the title of the program is to take charge of your health. So, as individuals, ninga each one of you, ஒருத்தரும் அவங்களோட ஹெல்த், அவங்களோட ஆரோக்கியத்தை கவனிச்சாதான் நம்ம இந்த COVID-19 பிரச்சனையிலேருந்து வெளியில வர முடியும். ஸோ சென்னையில இருக்கிற எல்லாருக்கும் டாக்டர் தமிழிசை சவுந்தரராஜன் யாருன்னு தெரியும். தமிழிசை சவுந்தரராஜன் அவங்க டாக்டர், உமன், ஆல்சோ இப்போ கவர்னர் ஆஃப் பாண்டிச்சேரி, தெலுங்கானா. அவங்கள ஒரு 2017ல நான் ஒரு மீட்டிங்க்கு பேசுறதுக்கு கூப்பிட்டிருந்தேன். அண்ட் அங்க வந்த உடனே she said, when we are raised, சின்ன வயசுல இருந்து நம்ம வீட்டுல அப்பா அம்மா தாத்தா பாட்டி constantly நமக்கு what do they tell us? Don't be selfish, don't be selfish, மத்தவங்கள பாத்துக்கோங்க, don't be selfish. So அங்க வந்த உடனே first thing she said is be selfish. And then whole audience was immediately sat up and said, idenna ivanga be selfish nu solranga. She said, be selfish when it comes to your health. Nammaloda health nu varumbodhu we have to be selfish, meaning we have to take care of ourselves. Or friend paravalla nee konjam inda cigarette try panna, no, be selfish, just say no. If they say no, let's go take a drink, no, let's try this, let's try that. Or where something else that is not good for you, or they ask you to eat something that is not good for you, you can be selfish and say no. So this is a very important thing she said in our meeting, and I try to repeat that in almost every program that I do, because it is such a valuable piece of advice. So I really think it is important. So today, what I'm going to do is, first we'll talk about what is adolescence, and then why is adolescent health important, and why is PHFI and Star Health really focusing on this. And then I'm an endocrinologist. Endocrinology, all this hormones and endocrine glands, the nalamilla surapigal. Adukko in the adolescent health ko enna sambandham? What is the relationship between an endocrinologist and adolescent health? And then I am particularly interested in young girls, and I'll tell you why. Because young girls become young women become young moms, and young moms have babies, and the babies grow up to be young girls. So in the cycle goes on, then it comes to girls. And I don't know how many boys and how many girls are listening today, and how many teachers, but just want to say, most important, girls and boys are equal, no question about that, but we are not the same. So adha eppodum nyabagam vechikkanum, because girls have a different life cycle and boys have a different life cycle. So adha eppodum we must keep that in mind. So first is, what is adolescent and this adolescent health? Okay, so the World Health Organization, WHO nu solranga, WHO has said 10 vayasla 19 years, 10 to 19 is adolescence. And adli, if you want, you can sort of break it up into 10 to 13 is like early adolescence, just அப்பதான் puberty, அதாவது பருவ காலம் அப்பதான் ஸ்டார்ட் ஆகுது. 14 to 16 is usually mid-adolescence, and from 16 to 19, late adolescence, stepping kind of well into adulthood. Even though up to 24, it's called as young, the young age. So, but we are stepping into adulthood. So, why is adolescent health important? அது நான் சொல்றேன். நீங்க வந்து இத ரெண்டு மூணு விதமா you can think. One is you take a building. When they construct a building, what is the first thing they do? Lay a good foundation. நிறைய நாள் ஆகும் the foundation போடுறதுக்கு. This strong foundation is the most important thing for the building. On top of that, the building can be 1 floor, 2 floors, 5 floors, 20 floors. But everything depends on how well they have laid the foundation. So this childhood and adolescence, especially adolescence, is the foundation. Adu melada we keep building on top of that. So now you know why it's very important to have good health during adolescence. Innor vidama, if you want to see, you take a plant. The plant is growing from a seed to a small little thing plant that's just coming out, germinating. Apart, it's a small plant, then bigger plant, then it grows and maybe becomes a tree. So if this plant is not given the right environment, adukku sariyana water, sunlight, and the soil, பூச்சியெல்லாம் இல்லாம, so the right amount of nutrition and support systems for this plant illena, it will not grow properly, it may not even grow, and then definitely it won't grow to its fullest potential. The ரொம்ப important word, potential, that we grow to our fullest growth potential, height potential, our physical growth, mental growth, emotional growth, everything, brain growth, all of these things will be dependent on how well we eat, how physically active we are, how well adjusted we are, what is our family environment. But this food and physical activity, good sleep, avoiding risky behavior like smoking, alcohol, and drugs and things like that are most important. Okay, so this is another way of looking at it. You can look at it as a plant growing. And I also want to say there are Tamiliyum sari, Englishlayum sari, nariya paramori ella irukku. So fix it before it breaks. A stitch in time, saves 9. And then they say an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure, meaning if we prevent problems, prevent diabetes, prevent heart problems, prevent chronic disease like that, and stay healthy, obviously the whole life is going to be much healthier and better. So that is why the importance of adolescent health. And also in this narrow window, 10 to 19 is like, all these, you think it's a long time. In the fullness of life, 80 years, 90-year-old life, this time is actually a narrow window. But in the narrow window, whatever happens at that time is what we will, whatever is sown at that time, we will reap the benefits or the bad effects later. So that is why it is so important to take charge and take good care and remember what Dr. Tamilisai said. So that is why it's a national priority. Also in our country, unlike other countries, half of our population, we have a lot of, big population, something like 1.4 billion people. And the 1.4 billion people, half the people are below the age of 25. So you can imagine, நீங்க நினைச்சு பாருங்க, இதுல வந்து ஒரு 700 million people are below the age of 25. So how important it is that we should focus on adolescents. Very, very important. Not just because of this number. For example, we say women of reproductive age. That's between ages of 15 and 49, and the age group. அது மாத்திரம் நம்ம ஊர்ல more than 300 million women. So now you see why it is so important to focus on our adolescent health. So the next thing is I want to tell you is this endocrine system and why it is so important to an adolescent's health. So நீங்க பார்த்தாக்க lots of வேற glands எல்லாம் இருக்கு, but ரொம்ப முக்கியமானதெல்லாம் சொல்றேன். Most important, pituitary and hypothalamus. So pituitary and hypothalamus, they are in the brain, the base of the brain, directly behind the nose, if you can imagine. It's in that space. Then the thyroid gland is in the neck. It's like a butterfly shaped gland. And within the thyroid gland, 4 glands are there, parathyroid glands. On the 4 corners of the thyroid, there are 4 parathyroid glands that produce parathyroid hormone, and they control the calcium in the body. Then the pancreas, and the pancreas, it makes insulin, and and another hormone called glucagon, and then enzymes, but particularly insulin. And in the insulin, people get type 1 diabetes. And we are talking about adolescents. So children and adolescents are the ones who mainly get this type 1 diabetes. Fortunately, in the type 1 diabetes, அவ்வளவு common இல்லை. So இப்போ ஒரு 100 பேருக்கு diabetes இருக்குன்னா ஒரு 95 பேருக்கு it is type 2 diabetes. So in the type 2 diabetesல pancreas insulin produce பண்ணுது, ஆனா அது சரியா வேலை செய்யறது இல்லை. And the reason why it is not working properly, maybe the person is overweight, maybe they are not active, maybe they are eating the wrong things, maybe there is a family history of diabetes. So those are the other reasons. Then there is a gland just above the kidney called adrenal gland. And the adrenal gland makes very, very important hormones that are needed for our body's metabolism and so many blood pressure control, meeting stress and all that. Then very important, in men, their testes makes testosterone. And in women, their ovaries make estrogen, which is necessary in women for all the feminizing, meaning all the breast development, female body changes. In men, of course, facial, beard varudhu, and muscles build pandrathu. They're a little bit taller than women. All of those things are, the testosterone is responsible. So you can see how the endocrine system is important during adolescence, because in the pituitary is the one that makes the growth hormone. And we know that puberty and adolescence means what? We grow taller, we start getting changes of puberty, paruvakala matram udambula varum, and then we become adults. So most important hormones for the body, the growth hormone, thyroid hormone, estrogen in girls, testosterone in boys, all this comes during puberty, and this is really very, very important. So first, in the growth is, as you can see, is physical growth. Most striking and most obvious, பார்த்த உடனே போன வருஷம் பார்த்ததுக்கு இப்போ நல்ல உயரமாயிட்டியே அப்படின்னு சொல்லும். So just want to say something very important here. எல்லாரும் ஒரே மாதிரி இருக்க முடியாது. All are not created the same. So our final height finally number as a woman, if I am 5'3" or 5'5" or 5'6" or 5 feet, ellame will depend on appa ammaoda uyaram, nammaloda nutrition, வேற ஏதான health problems இருக்கா, emotional problemsலாம் இருக்கா, physically active, am I physically active, eating properly. Everything depends on, all of that will be contributing to your height. So if you have tall parents, very good chance you will also be tall. But if you have some other health issues, then you may not reach your growth potential. Adhe madri, if the parents are not tall, unlikely that you will reach a certain height. So it most important is that you reach your height, genetic height potential, and what is physically your body is capable of. Okay, we should not go by some other standard that the society or some Bollywood person that you want to be like, and the madri number irukka mudiyadu. We will be, our health will depend upon our genes and our nutrition. Those are most important. So for this growth, like I said, pituitary lane the growth hormone sariya varano, then it has to go to the liver, and the liver has to make some growth factors, then that has to go to your bone and other parts of the body, and all of this has to work like in like work together. Only then we will be able to grow properly. So lots of conditions where things may go wrong with these things, and children may have some trouble with growing. So what I'm saying is very, very important that children must grow around 4 to 6 centimeters per year. And puberty varumbodhu, they'll have a growth spurt, and then they'll grow taller. If you find that school checkup or when you go to the doctor, the height measurement, you are not growing, you must see your parents, and you must see a doctor, because இது சில பேர் they will not go because let's say அத்தையை கொண்டிருக்கு, பாட்டியை கொண்டிருக்காங்க, தாத்தாவை கொண்டிருக்காங்க, and they'll come late. So very important that at the right time people should go and see the doctor. So that's the most important thing I want to mention about growth, that good eating, lot of physical activity, sleep. Growth hormone is made at night during sleep. Good sleep, stress reduction, all of that is important for the final height. That's very important. Next comes puberty. So puberty is when young girl becomes a young woman, a young boy turns into a young man. So body changes along develops, because there is like a switch in the hypothalamus pituitary gland that will go off, and immediately the body will start making hormones and changes. Slowly it will happen. Adum very important. Ellarkum ore vayasla varadu. There will be some people who will get it early. There will be some people who will mature late. But there is usually a window we see when how things are happening. For example, you take a girl, normally breast development will just start around age 10, 11. Then it will slowly progress. And by the time she starts getting her menstrual cycles, which will be around age 12 or so in most girls, but it can be anywhere from too early is age 8 and too late is age 15. But you can see in this window, eppavana varalam. So very important that if it comes too early, or it hasn't happened, breast development has not happened, or body hair under the arm or pubic region hair varala, then must go see a doctor. So this is what it means to take charge of our health, because this body changes only we know. And we shouldn't compare notes with our friends, because like I said, ஒருத்தருக்கு ஒரு மாதிரி 12 வயசுல வரலாம், ஒருத்தருக்கு 14 வயசுல வரலாம், ஒருத்தருக்கு 16 வயசுல வரலாம், and all may be normal. Or ஒருத்தருக்கு 10 வயசுல வரலாம், and everything may be normal. But you have to, if there is any doubt, must go see your family doctor and avanga yara paaka solrangalo poi paakano. And why this is important is a lot of times people delay too much, and children, they see other friends. There may be a boy who's looking at another a boy in his class who's developing a mustache, or his voice is changing, or he's suddenly growing taller, and thinking நம்மளுக்கு இதெல்லாம் ஒண்ணும் வரலையே, and start worrying about it and feeling very actually shy or depressed about it. There's no need to. There's a huge window when it can happen. But if you have any questions in your mind, you should discuss with your parents and go see a doctor, because then they can find out. Maybe they'll just say you are perfectly fine, just wait for a few more months, everything will be fine. So very important that this happens. There's one point that I want to mention, especially for girls: body or a fat content. If you're too thin, the pituitary and hypothalamus cannot send the signals. We need a minimum amount of fat, which is why good healthy eating during puberty is so important. And unfortunately, appadam girls, when they are influenced by other girls in the school or what they see in the movies or social media, and then they start starving themselves to become size 0 or become thin, and they are actually hurting their body. So idu nammaloda udambukku nalladhu illa. Good healthy eating is important throughout life, but particularly during adolescence. Cannot go on any crazy diet or anything at that time. So lot of changes happen in boys and in girls, and if the changes do not happen, you feel it's coming on too slow, doctor pakano, or even too early. If you see a 7-year-old or an 8-year-old girl and suddenly you find hair under her, you find hair under your arm or in the pubic region or breast developing, must immediately discuss with your parents and go and see the doctor. So one condition that is very common, also affecting a lot of adolescents, is a condition called polycystic ovary syndrome. In the condition, why it's so important is it's very common. And rendavathu, irregular periods varalam. So, but irregular periods in the young age la romba common. Pimples la varalam, aduvum romba common at this age. But some girls may be having a condition called PCOS. Polycystic ovaries la enna avangalukku future la diabetes varthukko, heart problem varthukko chance jaasti. And at least or 50 to 60% or even more are also overweight. So if you have irregular periods for more than 1 or 2 years after starting the periods, or there is a lot of hair on the face or other parts of the body where it should not be there, or there is overweight, then you must see the doctor and make sure that there is no polycystic ovary syndrome. And this, of course, is usually treated with the proper lifestyle changes and weight management, and also some medicines if necessary. So this is something that should be attended to in girls. Okay. Next comes thyroid. This thyroid gland is in our neck. It's a butterfly shaped gland, as you can see right here in the neck. Very important gland, making very important hormones. And why this is important, especially in growing children or in adolescence, is it's needed for growth, it's needed for puberty, it's needed for school performance, it's needed for energy level, it's needed for metabolism. So if you find that you are suddenly feeling slow or lethargic or ரொம்ப டயர்டா இருக்கு, ஏதோ ஞாபகம் எல்லாம் மறந்து போறது, பசி இல்லை ஆனா வெயிட் கூடுறது, you're not hungry, not eating, but still weight is going up, you're tired, sleepy, lethargic, or school performance. ரொம்ப நல்லா படிக்கிற ஒரு பையனோ பொண்ணோ சடனா ஸ்கூல்ல சரியா படிக்கிறது இல்ல, ஏன்னா எல்லாம் மறந்து போயிடுது, மார்க் வாங்குறது இல்ல. So all these things are important for adolescents. This can also affect puberty. Puberty can come too early. Puberty can come late. Growth can be stunted in hypothyroidism. So இந்த மாதிரி பிரச்சனை எல்லாம் இருந்தாக்க immediately again thyroid problem இருக்குமோன்னு போய் செக் பண்ணும். And what can you do about not getting a thyroid problem? Really, you can't do much, but you can look for any of these problems and immediately report to your parents, and immediately can go and see a doctor. And it's so easily treatable, so easily we can diagnose it. So very, very important. In the beginning itself, I mentioned that fortunately this type 1 diabetes is not common it's not so common to start with. But type 2 diabetes that comes because, like I said, happens, there's enough insulin being made in the body, but the insulin is not working properly because people are overweight or they are not physically active. So that is now beginning to happen even at a very young age, as young as 10-year-olds and 14-year-olds and 15-year-olds, because of overweight, obesity, poor eating patterns, lack of physical activity. So we are also beginning to really worry about this young age onset type 2 diabetes, and that is completely in your hands. Diabetes is preventable. So if you are fit and active and eating healthy, I don't think you can get type 2 diabetes at a young age. I'm just saying at least 75-80% is preventable. And again, I want to come back to this thing I mentioned in the beginning. This is particularly important for girls because at a young age, 15, 16, 20, 19, if she has diabetes, or even before diabetes, normal, pre-diabetes, and diabetes. If she has pre-diabetes and then she becomes pregnant, she's going to develop a condition called gestational diabetes. In the கர்ப்ப காலத்து சர்க்கரை நோய், இது இப்போ நம்ம ஊர்ல ரொம்ப 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 சர்வசாதாரணமாயிடுச்சு. ஒரு 100 பேர் பிரெக்னெண்டா இருக்காங்கன்னா ஒரு 10லேருந்து 15 பேருக்கு இந்த gestational diabetes வருது. So it's a very big problem in our country, and it is, again, you can take charge and stay healthy if you make sure that you keep your weight where it should be, eat healthy, be active, and make sure that the sugar is tested before you plan a pregnancy. You can avoid this condition called gestational diabetes. The weight problem it's becoming a big problem in our country, especially for young people. 3 main reasons. Number 1 reason is, I think, lack of physical activity, watching too much television or playing video games and all that, and not playing outside and not having PT in school. Number 2 reason is too much of what I like to call this junk food, whether it is samosa, puff, bakery items, pizza, Maggi, noodles, and the mari things. And then also all these beverages, the colas and those kind of things, empty calories, oral nutrition kadayadu idhula. And it's very important that the children, I think, should have no access to these things. Very important that parents start this culture of healthy eating from early childhood, from as young as possible. As soon as breastfeeding has stopped, the baby should be eating healthy. And physical activity, lots of playing outside is very, very important for children, especially during adolescence, during growth period. So this nutrition, we now like to say that you should use this plate method. So imagine or a 9-inch plate. Adla half of it should be vegetables, especially green, orange, yellow, red, ella vegetables or kono. Okay. And then the other half divide it into half. So 1/4 of the plate will be the carbohydrate or starch, rice, bread, pasta, things like that. Then இன்னொரு பக்கம் will be protein, which will be fish, chicken, meat, eggs, but vegetarians all the dals and things like that. Protein also comes from dairy products, especially for vegetarian. That's very important. And healthy fat should be used for cooking. So healthy oils should be used. And every day we should also eat fresh fruit. So this slide I like very much because it shows us all the things we should be eating. We should be eating a variety of fruits, variety of vegetables, all kinds of good whole, grains, plenty of dals and pulses and everything, condiments, herbs, nuts, seeds, ella we should include in our diet. And if you're non-vegetarian, fish is number one, then chicken, turkey, and then lastly, red meat. And of course, egg whites are a great source of protein. So idella number ellame sapadnom. Unless you have a variety of foods, you won't get all the nutrients that you need. But if you eat a variety, or a supplement you don't need. Very, very important to keep in mind. Vitamins or matre onnume saapida vendam. Just good food is the most important thing. And I'm a huge believer of milk and dairy products. So pal, tair, cheese, paneer. இதை விட better நமக்கு கிடைக்கவே கிடைக்காது. These things contain such good nutrition, such good vitamins, calcium for our bones. So all growing children must drink milk and have curds and buttermilk and paneer and all of that. So I think this is a very healthy plate. Dal, chuka chapati, and vegetables, and also some fresh vegetables. You can also have more salad, not just onions and green chilies. I thought, but this is a good picture to look at. So one of the other important health problems that is usually solved by good nutrition is anemia, where the blood cells, red blood cells do not have enough of the hemoglobin, which can be usually iron deficiency, but where a B12 deficiency varlam, some other anemia varlam, especially in growing children and in school going children. The main thing is they don't have the sharpness in the brain, so they forget things, feel very tired, difficulty concentrating. So these are all very, very important, and cannot sleep or feel very sleepy. So very important to make sure that good nutrition is there is there part of our everyday life. So physical activity, any physical activity is good. Walking, cycling, dancing, skipping. You don't have to go to a gym. You don't have to spend money. You can do all the other fun things, playing volleyball, playing football, cricket, anything that makes you happy is actually a lot of good physical activity. That's not just sitting in front of a TV. For every 1 hour of TV watching, at the end of the year, people are gain 2% weight. If you watch 3 hours TV, you gain 6% weight. This is proven scientific evidence. And all schools must really focus on physical activity in school also, because I think that's always a fun thing to do, and it's outside, and it builds a certain, sorry, this should have come earlier. This is the thyroid gland. So I already talked about thyroid gland. Now, this is a very, very important thing I want to talk about, is bone health. Why is bone health important in adolescence? So, number body or a basic frame are the bones, and the bones keep growing in length. And then when they stop growing, we also stop growing. So usually in girls by about age 14, 15, their bones stop growing. And in boys, usually around 18 to 20, it stops growing. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the strength of the bone, what we call peak bone mass, the strength of the bone. So that happens usually, finishes by the time you are late adolescent, 18 to 20 kulla, that peak bone mass is almost over. Or for some people, maybe a little bit into their 20s. But as you can see, as it shows in this picture, between ages 10 and 20 is when you're getting the maximum thickness of the bone. And what is determining the thickness of this bone? Nutrition, calcium, vitamin D, all the hormones that we talked about. So important that's why I talked so much about good nutrition, especially milk and curds and all of that. And then getting the sunlight, vitamin D. Vitamin D is present mostly only in sunlight. Vegetarian food, zero. There is no vegetarian food that has vitamin D. Non-vegetarian food, fish, egg yolks, but how much can you eat of that? And how many people eat all that? So if you don't go out in the sun, you're going to be vitamin D deficient. If you use fairness creams, thinking that suddenly we are going to become a different color, we are not going to get vitamin D. So it's really important that we have pride in how we look. So body image is a very important thing, especially for adolescents. We are all, I like to say, I think beautiful inside and out, God-given, and we must have a lot of pride in the way we look and not have, any நம்மளை பத்தி ஒரு குறையெல்லாம் இருக்கக்கூடாது. நான் இவங்கள மாதிரி இல்லையே, அவ்வளோ ஹைட் இல்லையே, இவ்வளோ இது இல்லையே, இந்த கலர் இல்லையே, இது மாதிரி இல்லையே, அது மாதிரி இல்லையே. No, we have to highlight what all the good things God has given us, our parents have given us. So it's very important to eat healthy, be out in the sun. So வெயில்ல போனா என்னோட ஸ்கின் டார்க் ஆயிடும், கருத்து போயிடுவேன்னு நிறைய பேர் போறதில்லை. And they're all becoming vitamin D deficient, and in future it's going to affect them very badly. So let's make sure that we all go out in the sun somewhere between 10 and 4 o'clock afternoon, at least for 20 minutes. That's why I'm saying that school PT is very, very important. I also want to quickly, we are coming towards the end of my presentation. Plenty of things like smoking and drinking and all that is happening in adolescent age group. And the body, by the way, I have told you, is still growing at this time. The lungs are growing. The rest of the body is growing. So a smoking adolescent, young person, their lungs get affected much more, and in girls more than boys, than an adult person. If they drink, their liver and other organ systems are still growing. So all of this is going to be affected even more. And so smoking, drinking, drugs, poor sleep habits, sexual promiscuity, all of these things can lead to serious complications, both immediately and later in life. So those are absolutely, for no one. And if at all, I'm talking about sexual activity and safe sex and things like that are only at the appropriate age and with the right person. So we want to take what's called a life course approach, meaning the lady who's pregnant, number amma, when she's pregnant, she has to eat well, take care of her health. Appadan the baby will be born healthy. Then the baby has to be nourished properly with breast milk and and a lot of love and affection and all that, and proper vaccination lampote. And then when you all become adolescents like you are, between ages 10 and 19, lots of important things that you have to take in your own hands. You have to, like I said, eat right, be physically very active, sleep well, do not get into any of the bad habits. But most importantly, we must be in touch with our body. How am I doing? Am I feeling fine? Is my body doing all the things it is supposed to be doing? And if there is anything in doubt in your mind, you should immediately talk to your parents, not to your friends, because they are the same age as you, they don't know anything. You have to talk to your parents, and they will take you to the doctor and check it out. There's nothing to be shy about, anything with parents. That's very, very important. Appada, from that, you can become a healthy person. So it's also important that physical health actually translates into how well we are, mentally, and how well our brain works, how well adjusted we are with the society, ellame. So they're all connected, and that's why it's very important. And as Dr. Prabhakaran will attest to this more than anyone else, is that some things we can change at a very young age. The body is still able to make changes. After some time, we cannot make those changes. So it's very important that the young girl who is between the age of 15 and 19, because today we are talking about adolescents, she takes good care of her health, because she's going to become the future mother, and the babies are taken good care of. And then all of you take very, very good care of yourself, and eat well, and be active, and sleep well, and monitor your health yourself. Take charge of your health. So as children, can you make a change? Can you be change in the world? So all of you know who Malala is, the Nobel Prize winning young woman. And she has said, one child, one teacher, one book, one pen can change the world. So really, each one of you has, if you have the potential to change the world, you can change your body, your health. So that is really, if the world can be changed, our body is nothing. Tamil சொல்றாப்புல jujube, அது ஒண்ணுமே இல்லை. You can take care of it. So Greta Thunberg, this young girl, is made climate change, climate pati. She has made even grown-ups, presidents and prime ministers all wake up. And so I am a huge believer in the power of the young people, what you hold in your hands. You really can have the capacity to do anything that you want, and I mean anything. But keep in mind, one size doesn't fit all. Each of you is different. Each of you is unique. Each of you is special. You cannot be, look or be like another person. So you have to take that unique self and make the most of it. So I'll stop with that and answer any questions later. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, madam, for that excellent and a comprehensive lecture. So I was wondering how to summarize your talk and give some messages. As we're waiting for questions, I can do that. I thought I will use, my power is broken, so I usually goes talk power, but I can tell a few things, 3 or 4 points about health. So the first one is the saying which says, "No trovare, provare self." So in English we call it health is wealth, but I think the Tamil version is far more beautiful. That the life which is healthy is the best wealth that you can have. The second thing, which about diet, many people ask me, what should I eat? Should I eat this? Should I not eat this? How do I take carbs? How do I reduce fats and things like that? My simple principle, which I follow, is that I don't want to be a martyr. I want to do everything in moderation. Whatever I eat, Madam showed you that eight method. So what do we eat in moderation? Another once said that you should eat till the time you feel that you can eat a little bit more. Don't fill your stomach completely. And that's the kind of approach. So in fact, there's a saying in Tamil, அளவுக்கு மீறினால் அமிர்தமும் நஞ்சு. That means even amrit, which can give you immortality when taken in excess, can be bad.
Absolutely.
Then in terms of physical activity, I think Bharadiyar has said beautifully in his first 4 lines of his Odi Vilayadu Papa. He says, Odi Vilayadu Papa, நீ ஓய்ந்திருக்கலாகாது பாப்பா கூடி விளையாடு பாப்பா ஒரு குழந்தையை வையாது பாப்பா. So this has enormous message. One, he emphasizes the importance of physical activity. Second, he emphasizes the importance of friendship and collaboration. You share joy with friends. You be happy. And that is what actually makes you take right decisions in future life. If you're happy as an adolescent, happy as a child, you will be happy as an adult. And I know Madam said that it's not similar for everybody. My mother used to say, so it doesn't happen that way. But I think given our circumstances, we should do our best. So the last line he says, ஒரு குழந்தையை வையாதே பாப்பா, means shed hatred. You don't have to hate anybody. So I think these 3 or 4 simple principles: be moderate in what you eat, be physically active, be happy, and avoid stress. I think these are the core messages she gave in such a erudite lecture. And I think congratulations, madam, for telling our young friends what should be done and what should not be done. But I also would like to add, if you are tempted to have something, like you want to have an ice cream, you want to have Maggie, even now I like Mysore Pak, I go and eat. But then what I do is I exercise. I go for half an hour walk, 45 minutes, or do something. So you can manage. Don't curb your desires, but do everything in moderation. Of course, the no are smoking, alcohol, and the other vices. But in terms of diet, eat everything you want. Eat colorful food. Eat plenty of raw vegetables and fruits that are available. So these are simple things which can help you. Back to you, Dr. Usha. You want to say anything more?
No, I mean, I think you all summarized it beautifully, and just also say that in the home cooked food, eating together with the family, enjoying the company of family, all of that is so important. And நீங்க சொன்னீங்களே to start with என்ன சாப்பிடுறது. ஸோ நம்மளோட பாரம்பரிய உணவு, அதாவது தாத்தா பாட்டி அவங்க எல்லாம் சாப்பிட்ட food itself is actually healthy food. The main reason I think is lack of physical activity. So நிறைய குழந்தைங்கன்னா நிறைய விளையாடணும். So they must be constantly active, and nobody could have said it better than like what Bharadiyar said. So absolutely.
I also wanted to add one thing. You said that children don't go out and play because they think that they can become black. But Bharadiyar சொல்லியிருக்காரு, காக்கைஸ் கிழங்கின் வெளியே நந்தலாலாம் நந்தலால. So your black is beautiful. So you can become black. Go and play in the sun.
Yeah.
So there's a question. No, they're just thanking everybody. They're saying that it's a very useful and informative for growing children.
Thank you.
Arun, anything you want to say? We are at the end of.
Hi, sir. Thank you, sir. I think the session has been absolutely fantastic, and I think the students that have attended this session have definitely gained a lot of knowledge. There's a lot of experience on this panel. I would like to take this opportunity to thank ma'am for this excellent session, and I know Ma'am has had to wake up really early in the morning to take this session, and we're very much we owe a lot of gratitude to ma'am for this session, and I'm sure all the students benefited. I would like to thank Professor Prabhakaran for chairing the session, and I think both of you together have. I mean, I don't speak a lot of Tamil, but I understood everything that was said. I think it was fantastic, and both of your ability to take out quotes from various authors are incredible. So with that, I think there's not a lot of questions.
Maybe we can ask Dr. Venu to give any last
Yes,
comments
I
from
think
start.
Dr. Venu can also.
Thank you, sir. And first, I would like to start off with, ma'am, it was a pleasure, being a part of this. I really enjoyed, every slide of yours and the way you actually also spoke. And, I'm pretty sure all the kids here would have enjoyed this talk. And I mean, personally, for me, this is like one of those dreams for me, ma'am. I always wanted to attend one of your classes back during my UG days. I told you, and this has made my dream come true. I'm happy. And same way, I hope that it's been very useful for everyone who attended this, and I know that they would have found a lot of insight towards it. So I think I'll leave it for the Q&A session, Arun. So,
Yes, I think there are a few questions. I'm really sorry, ma'am.
yeah,
There were two questions in the chat. I think there was a question by from Hema, who asks for thyroid, what are the precautions to be taken in terms of lifestyle?
So thyroid disorders typically are what we call the autoimmune. Auto means self, and immune is the ability to fight infections or diseases. Yeah. So autoimmune means our own body, நம்மளோட உடம்பு நம்மளோட glandக்கு எதிர. So our own body makes antibodies against our own cells. So thyroid problem typically is an autoimmune problem. So அதுக்கு நம்ம ஒண்ணும் பண்ண முடியாது. We cannot do anything to not get it. But what you can do is, I'm just saying, எல்லாமே, number one, as Dr. Prabhakaran also has very clearly said, most important, I feel we are what we eat. So iodized salt, in our country, most places, the iodine is enough, but we should also make sure that we get iodized salt. Number one. Number two, any physical changes in the body. Immediately, if you can check it out, some things like thyroid problem are easily diagnosed and easily. But already thyroid problem irukka, the one diet that we are now telling people is not to eat too much of millets in the siridhaniyamla irukku illaya. So ragi and all of those things, ragi, kambu, thenai, those interfere with absorption of thyroid tablet. That's all. Other than that, nothing that you need to do that you can do. It just happens.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And there's another question, and I'm just I think what the participant wants to ask is, how does stress affect physical health? So she's mentioned how. Can you talk about stress and physical health, because almost 60% of teens are affected with stress?
So I'm an endocrinologist, Sonelia. So there's another famous endocrinologist. His name is Deepak Chopra. He's actually what they call like a lifestyle guru madri, motivational guru. அவர் என்ன சொல்றாருனாக்க, in our body, our cells, our body cells have a way of eavesdropping na otte kekkuradhu, eavesdropping on our thoughts. So number mind, whatever our mind is doing, is feeling, our cells will respond to that. So if somebody is going through stress, mental stress, they can have physical problems because of that. So what they're saying is, if you are happy and if you are positive and all that, your body will be healthy. If you are sad or if you are negative or angry, hostile, even your the cells will not be healthy. So that is one way of looking at it. The other way is how can you prevent stress? Sleeping well, not getting into any kind of habits like drugs or smoking or alcohol, having good relationship with family members, parents and siblings, brothers, sisters, Allah, they should be our best friends first. Then only school friends. So should be able to, discuss things with them and share things with them. So stress Allah koranju poidum. A lot of times stress is because we keep something nammalkulle vechu, we are, what can I say, festering that, and we are worried about it. Andamari illama. So good sleep, good physical activity, eating healthy, good relationship, and also a lot of recreation and extracurricular things. Adella stress is very, very good. But if it's still there, I think then there's very good professional help we can get for stress reduction. Stress iranda, it will affect your body in all sorts of ways, in many ways. So modella stress korekano.
Right, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Do we have time for a few more questions, ma'am?
I have time, but I'm not sure about Dr. Prabhakaran and others.
No, I am okay. There are only two more questions.
Sure.
I advise people not to ask personal questions. I mean, about individuals having individual problems. It should be general. So based on that, Arun can read out the questions.
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, another question is regarding irregular periods. The question is, how long can irregular periods be taken casually, and for which symptoms should we consult a doctor?
So, since we are talking about adolescents, as soon as a girl starts getting her periods, in the first year, at the end of the first year rather, or nearly 80% of the girls, it will start coming regularly. See, average we think is around 28 days, right? So anywhere from 21 days to 35 days is considered a normal cycle actually. Okay, and the way we calculate the cycle is from the first day of the cycle, not from day 4 or day 6 and all that. From the day the period start is day 1. At the end, when you calculate, from anywhere from 21 to 35 is considered normal. 28 is right in the middle. So that's the usual average cycle. So in the first year, many people will have irregular cycles. But the end of first year, almost 80% of the girls will start having regular cycles. Then the second year, majority will become normal. At the end of the second year, only a few girls few percentage will be continue to have irregular cycles. Or everyone by the end of about 5 years will be cycling regularly. That's one. So if you start having either cycles too early, before 21 days, then the big problem is you can become anemic because you're losing so much blood in such short intervals. And if you're starting to have cycles that are much longer, more than, let's say, 45 days, 60 days, you start getting cycles like that, then also we'll have to find out what is the reason for it. It may be overweight, it may be thyroid, it may be some hormonal imbalance. So we have to check on those things. But very important, more than 2 months, if you don't get a menstrual cycle, it's not healthy. Because there are a lot of people, 3, 4 months, 5 months, they won't get a period and they're very happy. Okay, no periods for 3, 4 months, 5 months, and they're happy. But should not do that, because anything more than 2 months, the lining of the Garbhapayoda lining will get thick. And then if it keeps on getting thick, future complications varo. So 2 months ka varlena, doctor ta pono. So very important.
Thank you, ma'am. So, ma'am, the next question is, what food items can we take if our hemoglobin is low?
So for iron, typically, greens like kire or ella vidhamana kire are good. Some other vegetables, things like figs and some of the other, nuts and all that. And then some of the non-vegetarian foods, especially things like, liver and all of that are supposed to be traditionally, good for that. But most importantly, a variety of vegetables with a lot of greens are very helpful. And of course, we can always get iron supplementation.
Specifically, I think, would you suggest Murunga Kirai?
Thank you, Dr. Prabhakar. Moringa is so nutritious, plus high in protein. So, nichema and vela korchal. So, number urla we should really push Moringa Kire.
Right, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. There's just one more question, ma'am, and that's regarding vision. So the question is, what kind of food do you advise for good eye vision among adolescents?
So vitamin A is very important for vision, and actually I think all vitamins are important for good vision. So vitamin A containing foods, things like carrots and other orange and red vegetables, even oranges and all of them can have potatoes. So a lot of vegetables have vitamin A. So A containing foods at the club. So it kind of it comes back to having lots of, half the plate should be fruit and vegetables. I mean, mostly vegetables and a fruit. A couple of times a day you can have a fruit as a snack.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And with that, we come to the end of all the questions. I would like to close the session now, ma'am. Thank you again. We would like to extend our sincere gratitude to you for taking time off for this particular session, for giving such a fabulous presentation and also answering each and every question so patiently and with so many very good examples. Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you, sir, for sharing the session and for giving your valuable inputs. With this, we come to the close of the session. Thank you, everyone, and have a